broke through yesterday to win 10-5. They won with the long ball power of Javier Lopez, and they made some great defensive plays as Bobby Koch won his 1,000th career win with the Braves. Today, Greg Maddux looks to become the Major League's first 9-game winner next. Another swing and a miss at an knuckleball. Clutch pitching by Tom Glavine. He's the best, folks. He is the best.
Great pitch by Smoltz. He is cooking.
Hello again, everybody. Skip Carey welcoming you to another day of Atlanta Braves baseball from beautiful Camden Yards in Baltimore. It's the rubber game of the series. Braves won yesterday 10-5. It's really the rubber game of the road trip. The Braves are 4-4 on this trip after losing the first 3 in Chicago, and a win today would make it a very good road trip. The Braves send their best pitcher to the mound. Greg Maddux will do the pitching, and a guy you'll remember from his days with Pittsburgh and Houston, Doug Drabek, is on the mound for Baltimore. Joe Simpson is down on the field. He's going to visit with Walt Weiss when we come back right after this.
Magnavox, let's make things better. And by Napa Auto Parts, we keep America running.
Welcome back to Camden Yards, the last game of a long road trip that took the Braves through Chicago and Milwaukee. In the final game of the 3-game set here in Baltimore, the Braves and the Orioles have split the first 2 games. And our pregame guest this Sunday afternoon is Walt Weiss, who, first of all, I want to know about your hamstring again, just getting back in the lineup. And I know it's something that's been driving you crazy all year long, but how's it feeling now?
It's actually feeling good. Actually, in Chicago, trying to protect my hamstring, I kind of messed up my left quad. So it's been my quad, actually, that's been keeping me out. It's crazy, but, you know, it's frustrating. But that's what happens when you kind of try to protect one thing and other parts are vulnerable. But it's tough, you know. I'm still not able to run, but about 75%. But you know, hopefully it's just one of those things I can play around for a while and then it'll go away. You
break in yesterday though and get 3 hits, play a good ball game. I'm wondering how you're able to keep your swing consistent when you're not in the lineup every day.
You know, my swing, I just try to keep it simple. You know, I don't have a real big swing. I just try to keep it short and try to use the whole field. And you know, I had a couple of hits fall in for me this series. I have been crushing the ball, but you know, as long as I'm getting on base, that's my biggest concern.
And as it would happen, I guess, every time it seems like a guy has a leg injury, the first time back in the lineup, your first ground ball, you have to try and leg it out. That's tough. You made a spectacular play defensively yesterday on a great diving effort. Is it easier to play defense than it is to run out the ground balls?
Yeah, running is the toughest part. I mean, defense is going a couple steps left or right isn't that big a deal. If I have to go hard left or right or come hard in, that's a problem. But yeah, running the bases is definitely the biggest problem right now.
Interleague play. You go home and you play Boston tomorrow for 3 games. A lot of talk right now going on about whether or not interleague play will continue next year. What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, I think there's too many concessions made because of interleague play in the schedule. You know, I think we should play more games within our division. You know, I think interleague play, there's some matchups that are real intriguing, but there are others that, you know, you can have. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I wasn't a big fan of it when they instituted interleague play, but it has brought a lot of people to the games. You know, particularly series were in the same city with New York and Chicago and that type of thing. But overall, I think the jury's still out on it.
Greg Maddux is on the mound today for the Atlanta Braves. When you were with Colorado or Florida and you knew Greg Maddux was on the mound, did you look forward to that matchup knowing here's one of the best pitchers of this era that I want to go out there and see how I can do today?
No, I never looked forward to it. It was a challenge, no doubt, but I don't think I ever looked forward to facing Greg. But it's great when now that I'm on this side and I know he's going to the mound and I get to play behind him. I look forward to that.
Keeps you in the game too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Working quick.
He does.
Doug Drabek on the mound today for Baltimore. Here's another veteran and a good challenge too, a guy who's been around a while.
Yeah, Doug knows how to pitch. Been around a long time, and he's crafty. I mean, he knows how to pitch.
Walt, you're doing a sensational job. Just keep the legs healthy. Stay in the lineup because the Braves have been certainly tough to beat when you've been in there, and good luck today.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Walt Weiss, our guest. We'll be back to tell you about Greg Maddux and Doug Draybeck and the rest of the starting lineup from Camden Yards right after this.
Dilbert for Office Depot.
I've decided to abandon logic and manage by cliches.
And Eddie was honored by having his number retired here this afternoon, and a lot of his former teammates and former manager Earl Weaver here to honor him. Weaver, along with Jim Palmer and Frank Robinson. Of course, his wife and daughters were here too for the ceremony. Cal Ripken threw a couple of jabs at him too as a longtime teammate, talking about some of his pregame rituals. But a wonderful display here, retiring his number, and a monument to join Earl Weaver, Brooks Robinson, and Frank Robinson, along with Jim Palmer, and having their numbers retired here in Baltimore. A beautiful stone monument that will go on display out on Utah Street, the promenade area out behind right field. Eddie Murray, very touched by the ceremony, told the fans he loved them too, and they were all shouting Eddie and telling him how much they loved him. And he was rewarded by the ball club with a brand new Corvette. You see the Braves all came out on the top step to shake his hand as he drove by, and certainly a guy deserving of having his number retired with over 3,000 hits, over 500 career home runs, an 8-time All-Star, and definitely a lot for the Hall of Fame. A beautiful ballpark here in Baltimore, Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You see a good look out there at the old B&O warehouse, the longest building on the East Coast, and it's only 20 feet wide, so that's a pretty impressive building. It's now used for Oriole offices and for banquet facilities, but a tremendous ballpark that seats about 48,000 folks, and all of them very close to the playing field here in Baltimore. Time for today's starting lineups. First of all, for Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves, they'll try to pick up the second win in a row against the Baltimore Orioles, with Walt Weiss leading it off at shortstop. Keith Lockhart will bat second at second base. Chipper Jones will play third and bat third. Then it's Gallaraga in the cleanup spot. Ryan Klesko, who's had a good series here, will be in left field. Michael Tucker will play right. Andruw Jones will bat seventh. Eddie Perez eighth. And the DH today will be Curtis Pride. Defensively for the Baltimore Orioles, behind Doug Draybeck this afternoon, B.J. Surhoff in left field, Brady Anderson in center, and Eric Davis in right. On the infield, Cal Ripken is at third base. Mike Bordick returned to the lineup yesterday after sitting out 4 days with an ankle injury. Roberto Alomar is at second base. Rafael Palmeiro at first. He's been swinging a hot bat. Lenny Webster will do the catching, and on the mound will be Doug Draybeck. Umpires for today's ball game. Behind the plate, a veteran, as you see, 28 years for Larry McCoy. He'll be behind the plate. Mark Johnson is at first base. Chuck Merriweather at second. And the crew chief, Jim Evans, will work down at third. Sellout crowds the first two games of this series, and another sellout this afternoon here packing into this ballpark. I'm not sure that these clouds are going to cooperate, but I hope they kind of go around us. There's some pretty brisk winds blowing. We can see some flag starts at the top of the skyline here in downtown Baltimore, but hopefully the rain will stay away.
Yeah, the forecast, Joe, was for rain late this afternoon or this evening, but when you're close to the ocean, it changes in the twinkling of an eye. So you're right, it looks pretty lousy right now. We don't know how much there is behind that. Hopefully it'll blow over and we'll be able to get this game in. By the way, the Red Sox in town starting tomorrow night. Tom Glavine will oppose Derek Lowe, a rookie. Then Dennis Martinez goes for the record against another veteran, Brett Saberhagen, and Denny Nagel against Pedro Martinez on Wednesday. And following the Red Sox into town, who do we got? I think Montreal comes back.
Yes, they come back.
Which doesn't make any sense at all, but they do. And then Florida's in for 3 before the Braves hit the road again. So make your plans to come on out and see us at the ballpark. The Braves come into this game at 43-19. Baltimore comes in 3 games under 500 at 29-32. We are at the time they said this game would start, and obviously they lied, for the Orioles have not yet taken the field. In the other baseball, the Phillies lead Toronto 1-0. They're in the 4th. Florida and the Mets or rather, and the Yankees, excuse me, just getting underway. Likewise, Montreal and Tampa Bay. Cleveland and Cincinnati are scoreless after an inning. Minnesota and Pittsburgh just getting started. And all the other action is later on this afternoon or tonight. Well, the umpires are at their positions, but the Orioles aren't. And until they get going, we'll have no baseball here. Doug Drabek, I remember him from the gallant pitching performances he did for the Pirates in the early 90s. He was the starting pitcher, went more than 8 innings in that miracle game where Cabrera got the hit and Sid Bream scored the run that made the Braves the National League champion, and he pitched his heart out on 3 days rest, just absolutely ran out of gas in the ninth.
I remember that too as a tough decision Jim Leland had to make that night as to whether or not to go to the bullpen or take out his starting pitcher, and it certainly worked in the way of the Braves after Stan Belinda was called upon to come in and finish the game. The Orioles take the field. Between these two guys, Maddux 378 starts and 192 wins. Drabek 385 career starts and 159 wins. They certainly do know how to pitch. Combined, they have 5 Cy Young awards. Drabek got off to a tough start. He's 5-5 for the year. Pitched very well in May with a 4-1 record, as you see. He is 4-3 here at Camden Yards. And one thing we probably won't see, but if we talk about it, it'll be the reverse. But neither one of these guys walk anyone. Drabek has not walked a batter in his last 24 1/3 innings. Maddux has only walked 1 batter in his last 26 1/3 innings. So these guys are going to be around the plate. They might give up some hits, but they know how to get out of jams, and it'll be fun to watch today.
Oddly, Drabek was first drafted by the White Sox, didn't sign with them, then signed with Cleveland, was drafted by them later after a couple of years of college, was traded a minor league deal to the Yankees, spent 1 year there, then went to Pittsburgh where he had all his success, signed a free agent contract, pitched well for Houston for a time. Last year, signed as a free agent with the White Sox, was 12-11 with an earned run average up around 5, which in American League games is not real good, but it's not real bad either. Because of the designated hitter, a lot more runs are scored in the American League. He really knows how to pitch, as Walt Weiss said. He's got this game pretty well figured out, as does Maddux. So we'll see if a good pitching duel is the result or a rain delay is the result.
Some fun in the dugout between the Orioles and Ozzie Guillen, a former Oriole who was
here and apparently today did that. 0-1 the count. Weiss had 3 hits here yesterday. Good pitch, a let up. It's 0-2. Nobody on or out. Ground ball to first. Palmeiro has it, takes it himself. 1 down.
I liked what Walt said about his swing, that he tries to keep it short and simple. That way you don't have too many bad bugs get in your swing over the course of time, and he certainly has been consistent this year when he's been in the lineup.
Keith Lockhart is the batter. Drabek goes to work. He's out of Victoria, Texas. Ron Gantz on the top. He's got exactly the same delivery he had when he was a kid. Hasn't changed a thing. Let up, squibbed back to the mound. He's got it. 2 out. The wind really whipping around here now. Two out for Chipper Jones. Chipper 4 out of 17 in his career against Drabek, which isn't too good, but 2 of those hits are home runs. Eddie Murray, by the way, specifically thanked the Braves that were all out in the dugout for the ceremonies, which they didn't have to do. And Eddie mentioned how honored he was that they thought enough of him to do that. 0-1 the count. Drilled into right center field. Davis on the run. He plays it on a hop. Chipper's aboard with 2 out for Andrus Gallaraga, and he has feasted on Draybeck. 31 out of 88 with 5 homers.
One of the things about Eddie Murray with respect to the Braves, Skip, is that while there were those of us in media and other areas that may not have understood Eddie Murray or didn't get along necessarily 100% with him as far as what he had to say, all opponents certainly had the respect that he commanded just from his ability alone. And you hear time and time again people like Cal Ripken talk about how influential he was on their careers and how he set a great example for his teammates. And I think that, as Eddie said today in the paper, that was what he wanted the most, was respect of his peers.
Yeah, he got very hurt by the criticism here and stopped talking to the press. Outside, a ball and a strike. He said fighting them is like going into battle unarmed when they've got howitzers. Meaning us. That's unfortunate, though, because a lot of people would have loved to let him give his side of the story.
He's got a great sense of humor, too.
Ball and a strike. They chase Chipper back. He's 6 out of 8 in the stolen base department. Runner at first, 2 down. Didn't get the breaking ball.
Well, they're going to see a lot of off-speed pitches today. His season high is 9 strikeouts. That was against Oakland, but in no other game has he struck out more than 5. Much more of a finesse breaking ball pitcher and a lot of change-ups.
The 1-2 fouled away. Still 1-2. Another capacity crowd, 48,000 plus on hand here. Each game in this series sold out. They're still filing into the ballpark, too. Throw to first, runner back. Boy, Jim Palmer put us on a spot last night, didn't he? DeNemo's Italian restaurant in Little Italy.
DeMimo.
DeNemo?
DeMimo. M.
DeMimo.
Got it.
Thanks, Jim. Great chow. I'll never eat again. Two balls, 2 strikes.
For this Inner Harbor area here in downtown Baltimore, bustling this weekend, wasn't it?
Oh, man, jumping. As was our hotel. 2-2 the count. Fouled away. Harry Pugh looking in Chilhowie, Virginia, has been under the weather. His son Frank wishes he could be here, and we hope he gets better real soon. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, runner at first. Swung on, well hit into right center field. Davis going back. The wind might help him. The wind blows that ball into the bleachers. A 2-run homer. To the off field, his 6th home run against Draybeck. His 22nd of the year. He's got 58 RBIs, and the Braves jump on top again, 2-0.
Well, if we didn't know what the wind was doing before, now we do. That ball started straight out toward the scoreboard and wound up about 50 or 60 feet to the right of that. Change up, down, and away, and he nailed it. You see Eric Davis headed toward the scoreboard, and he's got to change directions drastically.
Ryan Klesko takes the strike. Our tape operator, Howard Feinberg, wants to wish his stepdaughter Laura a happy 8th birthday today, as do all of us. Inside.
That ball landed out on an area we talked about on Friday night. That is on top of what's, I think, called the groundskeeper's shed. There are some seats under there, but if it lands up on that roof, it is a home run.
A ball and 2 strikes. Grounded foul. The sun's come out. I don't know how. With all these gray clouds, but it's shining brightly at the moment. Right back up the middle. Bordick. Late infield hit. Klesko legs it out. He's aboard for Michael Tucker.
Skip, when you throw a lot of off-speed pitches and sinkers like this, you're going to get a lot of balls hit back at you, as we have seen with Greg Maddux. Drabek's already had 2 hit at him. This one, he didn't get the glove down in time, and Klesko able to leg it out for a hit.
Mike Flanagan on his way to the mound to talk to his pitcher with a runner at first and 2 out. Yankees lead Florida 1-0 after an inning. Philadelphia, Toronto 1-1 in the 4th. Montreal, Tampa Bay scoreless in the 2nd. Minnesota, Pittsburgh 1-1 in the 2nd. Cleveland, Cincinnati no score in the 3rd. Tucker stands in there, hitting at .288 with 9 homers, 31 RBI. Braves scored 4 in the 1st here yesterday. Line drive, left center, base hit. Klesko will have to stop at second, and Andruw Jones will have a chance to do some damage against the guy who throws a lot of off-speed stuff.
It looked like Tucker went down and got a good pitch from Drabek. Stayed with it. These guys have seen what he did to Weiss and Lockhart. Everybody learned a little something. That was a low pitch. Boy, look at the head. He stayed right with it.
If Andruw could figure out a way to hit one into the right field corner, 2 runs might score. They play him way around toward left. Rather, Andruw. I think I said Michael. 1 ball, no strikes.
Talking to a couple of the guys before the game about their bats. Gallaraga swings a 34-ounce bat. That's about the biggest. He and Chipper. Chipper swings a 34-ounce bat, left-handed.
Drilled into right field, but right at Davis, and the inning is over. That ball was hit hard. Braves score 2 times. They get 4 hits. They leave a couple, and at the end of a half inning, 2-0 Atlanta.
Ripken bats 7th, and he's been hitting pretty well in that spot in the order. Lenny Webster 8th, and Mike Bordick, the shortstop, bats 9th. For the Braves defensively, Klesko, Jones, and Tucker in the outfield. Jones, Weiss, Lockhart, and Gallaraga 3rd to 1st. Eddie Perez will do the catching for Greg Maddux, who's had a pretty good rest here since he warmed up and with the festivities that went on, and then a long top of the 1st inning. We'll see how it affects him. He's won 6 straight decisions, only 8 walks and 41 strikeouts over those 7 starts.
Anderson stands in, having an awful time of it, hitting 187. He's 1 out of 3 against Greg in his career. And a ground ball to short. Weiss has it. 1 pitch. 1 out. I guess the operating theory is you might as well be swinging away against him. He's not going to walk you.
First pitch, you better be ready for a strike. It may be the best pitch you get.
And Anderson feasts on those first pitches for home runs quite often.
He's limping a little bit going back to the dugout. He kind of went by the bag sideways almost after he hit the base. I wonder if he hurt his knee some.
Eric Davis is the batter, 10 out of 49 in his career, just over 200 against Greg. 0-1 the count. Missed outside, a ball and a strike.
One of the things that's always mystified me about his success at the plate, Skip, has been the fact that he jumps at the ball, and you'd think pitchers would be able to disrupt his timing. But have you ever seen a hitter stand with his feet side by side?
No. And he's looks like he's nowhere near ready to swing. The bat's on a line with his navel. Downstairs. Full count, 3-2. That in itself unusual. Comes a changeup, I bet. Whatever it was, he missed with it. And Maddux issues a pass, and you might be right about that long delay, Joe. Here's Harold Baines.
You know how impatient he gets and how he wants to get out there and work. He was happy for the 2 runs in the top of the inning, but not happy with the delay in getting this game started.
Harold Baines, a guy who's had his number retired in Chicago with the White Sox. Line drive, 1 hop. Out there. Good play, Keith Lockhart, and the inning is over. 4-6-3 and out. That didn't take long at the end of 1. Braves lead it 2-0.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
We just had a disclaimer off Access there, and now we go to the 2nd inning. And Eddie Perez leads it off. Breaking ball inside corner, strike. Curtis Pride on deck. He's hitting 9th.
Got a lot of nice traditions here in this town with their baseball and the retired numbers and the way they go about displaying them and the way to play the game, as they call it, the Oriole way. Very proud baseball history.
In my heart, they're still the St. Louis Browns. They're not fooling me one bit. Line down the right field line. That's trouble. Eddie around first. Davis has a great arm, and he wisely holds on. There's the 5th Atlanta hit already.
Somehow, some way, playing once a week, Eddie keeps it going, and he's now hit in 7 straight games. 3 homers and 9 RBIs over his last 10 starts for Greg Maddux.
I think it actually works out pretty well. I'm not a great believer in pitchers having their own catcher, but that ball is sucked off the wall. Runners at 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. Stay there, Curtis. Boy, just missed a home run.
He sure did.
Second and 3rd, nobody out, and Drabek doesn't have a thing, I guess.
He almost hit this too low. If it gets any air under it at all, the wind will help him, and look how close he came to a homer. Anderson thought it was out.
Started to say it, but having Eddie catch Maddux gives Javi that occasional break. That's a demanding position, so it works out well for everybody. Walt Weiss grounded to first his first time. Infield is back, willing to concede a run for an out. I'm surprised by that. Weiss pops one into short left. He's going to try. Oh, and the throw gets away, and the other runner reaches 3rd. There's a break. It's 3-0. That makes it a sacrifice fly for Weiss and his 14th RBI of the year.
This ball was held up by the wind. Surhoff circled it, got himself in a good position to throw, and then came to the ball. Nice play. But his throw off the mark just a little bit, and a tough short hop for Webster to handle.
Good throw gets him. But as a result, the Braves have another runner at third, and now the infield has to come in. Boy, it's gotten dark here.
It'd be nice if they turned the lights on.
Yeah, it's about time. Well, they're not going to do it when we're hitting, unless the umpires ask for it. The 1-0 pitch to Lockhart. 3-0 Atlanta, our score.
There used to be a rule that if you didn't turn them on in the top half of the inning, you couldn't turn them on until the home team had finished their at-bat in the bottom of the inning, so as not to give an advantage.
I'm surprised Bobby hasn't asked about it. Breaking ball, he didn't get it. It's 2-1. Lockhart tapped to the mound his first time.
Could be that he doesn't mind the way they're hitting in the dark right now.
But it keeps getting darker. Eventually, it's going to become a problem. Into the dirt. A good play by Lenny Webster of Fayetteville, Georgia. 3-1 the count. No activity in the Baltimore bullpen. They used 5 pitchers yesterday. He walked him. There at first and third with only 1 out.
And his first walk in 25 innings. Here's an at-bat, though, for Chipper, Skip, that we've been talking about for several weeks, about when he gets in RBI situations, he has a tendency to chase a bad ball on the first pitch, almost overly aggressive, doesn't work the count too much. Let's see if he's more patient today.
The gentleman who provides the baseballs here just checked with the home plate umpire, Larry McCoy. He's on the phone, and I bet they're talking about the lights. There's a strike at the knees, 0-1.
That's really a good sign, but because that was a perfect pitcher's pitch going down and away from him. Nothing Chipper could do with it.
Infield is back, though Ripken is even with the bag, and Palmeiro holds the runner on. A lot of room on the right side for Chipper. High pop. That's going to reach the seats, but he's in the hole 0-2.
Back to those bats. I mentioned Gallaraga swings a 34-ounce bat and a 35-inch length. Chipper swings a 34-ounce bat from the left side, 33 from the right, a little bit lighter. And Ryan Klesko, one of the other members of the Thunder crew, swings about a 33.5 ounce, he said.
Braves with a chance to break it open here early. Deep center field. Back goes Anderson. It'll be another sacrifice fly. And Chipper didn't miss by much getting that out of here. It's 4-0. Curtis Pride crosses the plate.
First baseman, number 14, Gallaraga.
And here's Gallaraga again. RBI number 49 for Chipper Jones. "4-0 Atlanta." That has a familiar ring to it. That's the way the ball game started yesterday. Well, hit another one, Andrus. One ball, no strikes. Runner at first, now 2 out. Strike called over the inside corner, evens it up, 1-1.
2 straight fastballs inside, trying to keep the ball in on his hands, not let him get his arms extended.
That one was clocked at 87 miles an hour.
And I think that's about his best fastball.
Four 6-0 for Atlanta, all zeros for Baltimore.
Ground crew ready over there in the bunker behind the tarp, just in case.
Here it comes, too. The pitch is swung and foul tipped. The rain is beginning to fall, and the fans are headed for cover. Boy, you don't want to lose Maddux to a rain delay.
No.
It's raining pretty good, too. The 1-2 pitch. Going outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at first, 2 down. Little tapper toward third. Ripken in. Bare hand play. Safe. Infield hit Gallaraga. That gives Ryan Klesko a chance to hit.
As much as the big cat is hurting leg-wise, that had to be just perfect because Ripken was playing very deep behind the bag, respecting Gallaraga's power and strength. So this slow roller had to be hit just with the right roll to allow Andres to beat it out, and he just barely did.
2 on, 2 out. Klesko singled his first time. Check swing strike, 0-1.
Those are good pitching matchups with the Red Sox, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Pedro Martinez on Wednesday.
Popped out of play. It's 0-2. Speaking of those pitchers, there they are.
Derek Lowe, a highly prized prospect for the Red Sox. It's taking a beating right now, but he's going to be a good one. 2 veterans on Tuesday.
The 0-2 pitch. Downstairs, 1-2.
I showed you Mike Flanagan out to talk to Drabek earlier. In the late 70s, there's Charlton getting loose in the bullpen. What a pitching staff they had here in Baltimore with Dennis Martinez, Flanagan, Steve Stone, Jim Palmer. It's a tough crew.
It was very much like ours right now. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two on, 2 out, 2 in.
Scotty McGregor left him out.
Yeah. Lined into the seats.
The first pitch he threw Ryan did something it's causing Ryan to be a little hesitant going after that outside pitch. He knows he's going to get some off-speed stuff from Drabek, but that good fastball is only about 84, 85 miles an hour, but it was in on his hand. It made Ryan aware that he might pop him inside again. He's not covering the outside part like he would like to.
Hammered foul the other way.
And I think that's why he was able to turn on that one. He's thinking more middle in against Drabek suddenly than, say, Tucker was his first at bat when he hit the single to left center.
Is it still raining?
Just a little bit. Just drizzle.
The 2-2 pitch. Up the middle. Good play. Bordick steps on the bag, and the inning is over. But the Braves pick up 2 more runs, and they do it on 3 hits. They leave 2 more. We go to the bottom of the second. Braves 4, Orioles nothing. For young announcers, I'm going to pass along, Bill, when we have time. Palmeiro, very cooperative. Ground ball to second. Lockhart throws him out. If you're a young announcer and you wear glasses, and you also have sunglasses, always keep the regulation glasses with you in case it turns real dark, like I didn't do in the top half of this inning, so I had to take the sunglasses off because I couldn't see with them, and of course I didn't have my glasses with me, so I couldn't see anyway. This is not a good thing to have happen. Alomar, the batter, takes the strike. It's 0-1.
I wondered what you were what your gesture was when Klesko lined that ball foul to right. You looked at me and shrugged like, what was that?
I saw the fans duck. That's.
Well, now you got the
Here are the sunglasses and here are the real glasses. Always keep both of them with you. Starter to go. Yes, says the third base umpire. I think we got a break there.
I like that, though. Jim Evans, very emphatic with the call.
That didn't miss by much. A ball and 2 strikes. 1 out in the second. Tapper to short. 2 down.
That's just 2, Andre. Big Cat was headed to the dugout. Chipper laughing about it.
At least he forgot how many outs there were. That's.
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. B.J. Surhoff, the batter, hitting at .294. 1 out of 2 against Maddux in his career.
Caught a fly ball like that out deep right center field. That was the last out of the inning.
They finally got one in the air. You can't have a much easier inning than that, can you? 1, 2, 3, nothing doing at the end of 2. 4-0 Atlanta.
Toronto leading Philadelphia 3-1 at Sky Dome. Delgado's extended his hitting streak to 17 games. Dave Burba hit a home run for the Cleveland Indians to put them on top. He's pitching that ball game. Paul O'Neill with a home run extends his hitting streak to 15 games for the Yankees. Pittsburgh on top of Minnesota. Well, tied up now. And Montreal and Tampa Bay underway. They're in the 3rd inning. No score. Detroit did not score in the 1st at Milwaukee. And that's the only games underway so far.
Michael Tucker will lead things off here in the 3rd inning for Atlanta. The rain has just about quit. The fans are returning to their seats. And the lights are on, and Tucker takes a strike. 0-1 the count. Michael singled his first time, rifled it into center. Grounded foul over the dugout. 0-2 the count. The 0-2 pitch, here it is. A little bit outside.
Orioles made a couple of personnel moves since we were with you. Terry Matthews, pitcher, back on the disabled list. Jeffrey Hammonds, who's had some back problems, also on the disabled list.
Jesus Taveras has been called up to be a reserve outfielder. Bernie Williams has homered for the Yankees, his 9th of the year. 2-2 the count. Got him. Tucker out on strikes. First strikeout for Draybeck.
First batter, he's really fooled very much, and this was Doug Draybeck curveball from old.
Andruw Jones stands in. He lined to right his first time with a couple of men on base. Hit the ball hard. Comes up empty on a breaking ball. 0-1. 4-0 Atlanta is our score. Braves trying to make it a 5-4 road trip. And they're off to a good start.
Clarence Jones was trying to get Andruw to finish his swing today in batting practice. He was stopping a little bit on his follow-through.
Didn't get that curveball. 1-2. And Bobby Cox had a long talk with Mark Wohlers. His control problems continued yesterday. He may not use him as much as a closer right away until he gets some innings under his belt. Gets his confidence back and his control back. High pop foul. That'll reach the seats. And the fans battled for a souvenir.
I think that's fair to Mark. I do
too.
I think it's tough to come back from that injury he had on the oblique muscle and come back and expect him to be the same Mark Wohlers that he was before and come in game-saving situations and be ready.
That's why he came in yesterday with a 6-run lead. There's a drive. If it stays fair, down the line. Fair ball, home run. 5-0. We are feasting on Mr. Drabek.
Remember early in the count when he missed a curveball, he pulled his head off of it a little bit. That looked like a similar pitch that Drabek came back with, and it cost him.
10 homers, 35 RBIs for Andruw.
No, fastball. My mistake. And right down in the corner.
Curveball didn't bite. 1 ball, no strike. No, he wasn't throwing at him, folks. Relax. So Gallaraga has a homer, and so does Andruw Jones.
A lot of long balls for Drabek.
Line drive, center field, in for a hit. Anderson has to play it on 1 hop. Eddie Perez is 2 out of 2.
And that's the way you respond. I mean, and I agree with you. Drabek was not throwing at him, but he did take one up and in, came right back, stayed on the ball, and hit a line drive to center.
And Ray Miller is on his way to the mound. Alan Mills is in their bullpen. Check it, it's Flanagan coming out there. He put a jacket on. Fool me.
Brady Anderson has come in to get some sunglasses, too, with the sun breaking through.
I'm not ready to switch back yet. I'm going to stay with the regular glasses.
Yeah, because then you might have to go right back.
Yeah. Flanagan just killing time to get that bullpen ready, I would guess. It's been open season on Drabek. 9 hits already and 5 runs.
Flanagan had a terrific year in 1979. The year they went to the World Series to play the Pirates. He was 23-9, had 16 complete games and 5 shutouts, a 3.08 ERA.
Where is Memorial Stadium from here?
That way.
How far? Long way, or?
5 miles or so.
Beyond center field wall. Otherwise, you'd be in the harbor, I guess.
Yeah.
It's northeast of here, Joe.
Thank you.
Little squibber down the third base line, but foul. Pride rifled one off the right center field wall. Missed a homer by a matter of inches his first time up. Settled for a double, later scored. Cardinals scored 2 in the first. I wonder, did Mr. McGuire hit one?
I don't know. The Giants were busy walking him yesterday. They did not want him to win the ball game with a home run in extra innings.
Strike called over the inside corner. It's 0-2. Pride now hitting .260. Runner at first, 1 out, 1 in. Too far into Pride, 1-2.
After a slow start, Curtis has rebounded. 5 hits in his last 11 at-bats with 2 homers. In fact, this road trip, 2 at-bats, 1 a pinch hit homer, the other the double today.
Inside again. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Walt Weiss is on deck. We're in the third. It's all Atlanta so far, 5-0. Foul tipped into the glove of Lenny Webster for a strikeout. Second for Drabek.
Number 22, shortstop, Walt Weiss.
Walt Weiss is 0 for 1 with a sacrifice fly. McGuire did not hit a home run in that first inning. 0-1 the count. That's going to be the frustrating part for him. He's going to get walked so much. Tom Pagnozzi had a 2-run single. That's how the Cardinals scored those 2. Strike to Weiss, outside corner. 0-2.
He's throwing some good curveballs in this inning. And that last pitch was a beauty. Weiss gave up on it, as I'm sure a lot of left-handed hitters would, but that was a beauty.
Got him with a high fastball. Walt Weiss is not going to want to talk to you in the immediate future. Drabek strikes out the side, but he allows a run and 2 hits, and the Braves leave another. We go to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. 5-0 Atlanta. A little bit outside, 1-0. Up the middle, that gets through. First hit of the day for Baltimore. A leadoff single for Ripken. Lenny Webster, the batter.
It's like a fastball that stayed out over the plate. He wanted it away, but it came right through the middle and right between Greg's legs.
Boy, he gets a lot of balls back there. Webster stands in.
He got nailed a couple of times in Milwaukee in his last start. He went the distance, beat him 5-2. The only runs he gave up were the 2 on the home run by Jeremy Burnett.
With 2 out in the 9th.
Yeah, I think Mark Loretta was the guy that hit the line drive off the side of his leg. Bruised him pretty good.
Runner at first, nobody out. Webster at 255. Downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Cardinals now 4-0 over the Giants in the 2nd. Webster out of the box to try to slow Maddux down. Now he stands back in there. Ground ball. Lockhart got it. Goes to 2nd. Out there. That's all they can get. But they got, as they say, the leading lady.
Keith couldn't get his feet set. He was trying to stop and throw back to Weiss, but couldn't get his feet under him much. Took him an extra step or 2 to plant and throw. It had too much momentum going toward the first base line, but a nice play to get the lead guy.
Mike Bordick is the batter, 1 for 3 against Maddux in his career. There's a strike, 0-1. Brady Anderson waits on deck in this ballpark. 5-0 lead is nice, but it's far too early to celebrate. 0-2 to Bordick.
Gotta like your chances.
To the mound. Can they get it fair? Out there. Out there. And the inning is over. 1-6, 3 and out. And a perfect throw by Maddux, who fields his position as well as anybody. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, and no one left. We've played 3, and the Braves lead at 5-0.
League players have hit the most career grand slams. I believe one's in the ballpark today in uniform. We'll give you the answer in the bottom half of the inning. Meanwhile, a new pitcher for the Orioles.
Right you are, Joe Simpson. It's Alan Mills, who worked here yesterday. Big, hard-throwing right-hander. Worked an inning, gave up a hit. He worked the 7th inning in yesterday's game. Drabek, 3 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, 2 home run balls. Funny, he struck out the side in the third, and then they take him out. But he also gave up a home run and a single in that inning as well. Keith Lockhart will lead things off. By the way, that double play hit into by Mike Bordick was his first of the year in 161 at-bats. We go to the fourth inning. Lockhart is 0 for 1 with a walk. He looks at a strike from Mills. Mills out of Lakeland, Florida, was 2-3 last year at Baltimore. Spent some time on the disabled list. 6'1", 195-pounder. He looks bigger than that.
Yeah, he does. I believe he got suspended as a result of that fight with the Yankees. Lost a day.
Yeah, I think he was one of those who...
After Strawberry landed a punch on Benitez, Mills came back with a lunging right cross to the jaw of Darryl Strawberry.
There was a cartoon in the Baltimore paper today, things we'd like to see. And it showed that Kid Martinez, then of Kansas City, and Strawberry, each sucker punching the other. Ball 4, and Lockhart's aboard to start the fourth. So Mills comes in and issues a pass. And here's Chipper.
If anyone can appreciate what Greg Maddux is doing, and we all do, but Ray Miller certainly can. His philosophy on pitching is work quickly and throw first pitch strikes. He's seeing that today from Maddux, who's only thrown 23 pitches so far.
Fouled away. First pitch swinging by Chipper, 0-1.
He's talking about that pitching staff in 1979 and the early 80s for Baltimore with Earl Weaver as the manager, and Ray Miller was the pitching coach on that Orioles team and later became the manager of the Minnesota Twins.
Baltimore buses up to Philadelphia to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as we continue our interleague section of the schedule.
But there's a pitching coach who spent some time, paid his dues, got a chance to manage. I wonder if the same thing could be in the future of Leo Mazzoni.
The stretch. Pop foul back and out of play, 0-2. Well, Leo has said as long as Bobby Cox manages the Braves, he wants to stay in his current position. Maybe he would be a candidate if and when Bobby decides he's had enough. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. He loves it so much. Upstairs, a ball and 2 strikes.
I'll have to talk to Leo about that, maybe on a radio pregame.
That'd be good.
Ask him about that. Find out if there have been some teams that have wanted to talk to him since he's been the pitching coach here.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
I think Leo's done a lot for the Braves pitching staff, and I'll bet he's learned a few things himself from the likes of Maddux and Glavine, Smoltz.
Little pop fly, short left field. Bordick on the move. He'll get there, and he's got it. 1 down. And Chipper's carrying around a broken bat with him as he trots back to the dugout. 1 away. Gallaraga's 2 for 2, a 2-run homer, an infield single.
Millwood with another good effort yesterday despite not having his best stuff.
You see that graphic. Remember, Kamenicki and Jimmy Key are hurt. Mike Mussina missed about 2.5, 3 weeks. Strike to Gallaraga, 0-1. That's got a lot to do with that.
Sure it does. Mussina missed a couple of weeks before that with a wart on the index finger of his pitching hand.
Low and outside, it's 1-1, and now Kamenicki Looks like it'll be at least 3 more weeks. He's got a bad neck.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I was reading in the paper here today. It hurts him when he throws his curveball. Speaking of curveballs, there's one that's fouled back by Gallaraga.
Congratulations to the Southern California Trojans on their championship of the NCAA tournament at Omaha in the World Series. I, however, will stick to my plea for wooden bats again in college baseball because I hate seeing 21-14 scores. It's not good for the college game.
And plus, somebody's going to get seriously hurt. The ball gets to you too quickly with an aluminum bat.
Yeah.
A mile high, but not very far. Anderson coming in, Bordick going out. Anderson wants it and takes it. 2 down. Somebody's working on a plastic bat that is supposed to be unbreakable, but have the same qualities of a wood bat. I don't know if that's doable, but they're trying to do it. Klesko stands in.
One of the coaches at the College World Series, I can't remember which one, called them nuclear bats.
He's right.
I kind of agree because they're getting thinner in their material. Seems like they've got whatever inside them that makes the ball jump even more.
A little bit low. Ball on the strike. Runner at first, 2 down. Strike over the outside corner. Webster bluffed to throw to first.
A definite adjustment for the Braves hitters with Mills out there now instead of Drayback. He throws hard. Ball's getting on them a little quicker. Gallaraga got jammed. Chipper got jammed. 2 pop-ups the result.
Down and in. It's 2-2. Tony Womack has just singled home a run. The Pirates have taken a 2-1 lead over the Twins in the 5th. Now the 2-2 pitch. Here it is. Full count. The runner will go from first, and that runner is Keith Lockhart.
Good eye by Klesko there to lay off that pitch. He's talking to Frank Foltz, a conditioning coach of the Braves, before the game on a pregame radio interview. He says Gallaraga does some work after every game at home, working on his arms and wrists.
All 4. They asked for help, but no swing. Mills has walked his second 2-on for Michael Tucker. Michael has singled and struck out. Webster to the mound to talk to Mills. Now he trots back behind the plate.
Interesting thing about that set 2 between the Orioles and the Yankees, Mills, a former Yankee. Might have had some friends on the team.
Or maybe some guys he didn't like at all.
True.
Lenny caught it and didn't know he had it. Garbage is blowing all over this place. It's starting to look like Candlestick.
Where'd it go, Lenny?
Oh, here it is. Check swing. No.
One of the things about this park, though, that I've noticed is that if anything does blow on the field, any trash out of the stands, grounds crew races on the field to go get it if they have an opportunity between outs.
That should end the inning. Bordick fields and throws. Got him. Inning over. No hits, no runs, no errors, but 2 more left. The Braves have left 7 already. We go to the bottom half of the 4th inning with your score 5-0 Atlanta.
For the answer to today's trivia question, which 2 Major League players have hit the most career Grand Slams? One of them is Eddie Murray. He's being honored today with the retiring of number 33, and Lou Gehrig hit the most with 23. Also about Eddie Murray, he and Pete Rose are the only switch hitters to collect 3,000 hits, and he and Henry Aaron and Willie Mays, the only players with 3,000 hits and 500 homers. Pretty select company.
Brady Anderson fouls the first pitch away. Oh, 0-2 the count. Downstairs, a ball and 2 strikes. Nice cool day for Maddux. He's rolling merrily along to this point. He hits Anderson. That's not so good. Anderson got plunked yesterday by Mark Wohlers.
Only the second batter he's hit all year for Maddux. Got him on the back of the leg, and I'm not sure Brady minded that much.
Eric Davis, the batter, he walked his first time. Strike on the corner, 0-1. Maddux has allowed a hit and a walk. They've both been erased in double plays. He has faced the minimum in this game. Being hit is nothing new to Brady Anderson. He led the American League, was hit 22 times in 1996, led the league in 1997, got hit 19 times.
You were mentioning the cool weather. I was on the plane with Henry Aaron coming back from Milwaukee the other day, and he was talking about how he thinks the cool weather perhaps helps Greg Maddux as it did in Milwaukee the other day, and he referred to a pitcher.
That does it for Davis.
A very good pitcher, Jim Maloney. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
How tough he was. And Hank was saying, you know, we'd go to Cincinnati, and boy, he would stick it on us in that. Or we'd go to Cincinnati and wear him out, but he'd come to Milwaukee in the cool weather. He said, and we couldn't hit anything off of him. And he said, I think those types of pitchers really thrive at times when they get in a cool spot. And Maddux certainly was able to do that when he was in Chicago pitching for the Cubs.
That, by the way, was his first strikeout. It's 71, I think, at game time here. And with that breeze blowing, why, very pleasant.
Dennis Martinez with a complete game effort in cool weather in Milwaukee.
Baines comes up empty. It's 1-1. He hit into a double play his first time. Be okay with us if he did it again.
Changeup loaded up.
Grounded to third. Chipper can't get it. Runners at second and third. With only 1 out, just a little ground ball, but hitting a perfect spot. And the Orioles have a chance to get right back in this game.
Look how far Chipper's playing off the line. A lot of times, if there's going to be an off-speed pitch thrown or a changeup in this case, your shortstop will tip you off, and maybe you'll move a little bit toward the line some. That didn't happen, and boy, Baines just painted it right down the line.
Chipper has that to do over again. He might dive for that ball to knock it down. Here's Palmeiro. He grounded to second. The infield is, of course, back for Atlanta. This guy is a tough dude. 15 homers, 45 RBI. Strike. The Orioles have their first threat of the afternoon. Second and third, only one out. Strike two. He painted the inside corner. Palmeiro didn't think so.
In and out, in and out. Never the same pattern from one at bat to the next. Good pitch.
Yes, it is. He didn't miss by much there. 1-2. Went right back in on him.
Another changeup.
No swing. 2-2. That didn't miss by much either.
Did he? Not really. Bat went down, but he was able to stop it, I believe. Enough for Jim Evans, and he's the one that counts.
2-2. He misses again. 3-2. He was ahead 0-2. Palmeiro has taken some close pitches here. He knows the strike zone pretty well. Just does stay alive. He's shown him about everything in his arsenal in this at bat.
You know how Chipper kind of brings his front foot back and taps his toe before he swings? You see Palmeiro doing the same thing, kind of a timing device to get the swing started.
Got it.
Circle change.
The old changeroo again. Strikeout number 2. Now he's got a good chance to get out of the inning.
Thing that separates Greg from other even good pitchers is his willingness and his ability to throw this pitch when he's behind in the count.
Alomar grounded to short his first time. Upstairs to him, 1-0. Alomar is now 7 out of 27 against Maddux in his career. He batted against him extensively when he played at San Diego. One and one. Braves have left 7 runners on base. The Orioles haven't left any, but they got 2 out there now. We'd like to see them leave. Twisting foul and out of play. Greg's in front, 1-2. Who's the Surgeon General of the United States? No?
Dr. Coop?
Is it? With apologies to whoever it is, the real Surgeon General, I think, is the guy on the mound for Atlanta. Boy, that didn't miss by much. Eddie held it there, too.
Oh, mercy.
That's close.
That ball came back, and you see Larry McCoy kind of looking around Eddie's helmet to see where that ball wound up.
Alomar stays alive. It's 2-2. This is a big spot in the ball game. A base hit probably makes it 5-2. An out makes it 5-0.
Larry McCoy calls balls and strikes from one knee, and I'm wondering if he could see over Eddie's shoulder enough to call that close one.
Little chopper. What a play by Maddux. Inning over. Oh, what a play he made there. Better than sliced bread. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, 2 left. At the end of 4, 5-0 Atlanta. Andruw swings and misses. And the 5th inning is underway.
I really did.
Fly to right and homered has Andruw. Slider. 0-2. Andruw has a solo homer. Andres Gallaraga hit a 2-run job. And sacrifice flies by Weiss and Chipper. And there you have the 5 Atlanta runs. He made him look awful. Mills records his first strikeout.
Breaking balls all away. And this one never had the plate. Started off the plate, went farther away from him.
Here's Eduardo Perez.
No, try it again.
Eduardo
Got to
Perez.
get the Eduardo.
Eduardo. Well, then you got to go.
Yeah.
Here's Eddie Perez.
Not easy.
He's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Five nothing. Braves lead it. Dan Reagan, our director today. Glenn Diamond, our producer. Phil Simmons, our stat man. High fly ball left field, no carry to it, though. Surhoff comes in fact. 2 out. And Curtis Pride, the batter.
I wonder who complained about the Orioles logo.
I didn't know anybody.
Like the weather vanes up on top of the scoreboard. That's the original old Oriole logo. That bird has been around for years, just like that. And now they have a logo like the one on their hat where the bird is different.
It's anatomically correct now.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I wonder why someone would complain about it.
Probably in, what do they call them? Ornithologist?
Uh-huh. So, you know, that bird has a bit of a neck. There's the old one.
That's a puzzlement. 0-2 to Pride. Pete Van Weer and Don Sutton will join you after this half inning, by the way, and we'll go ponder birds in the radio booth. Either that, or if you get a new logo, you can sell more hats and shirts and stuff.
That's probably it too.
High chopper off the plate. He can really run. No play. Infield hit for Pride. He's 2 for 3. He should be proud of himself. Pride should.
Doesn't get many opportunities, but he's making the most of it today, and now a threat to go. He has 1 stolen base this year.
Oh, he can motor. Curtis is 1 for 1 in the stolen base department. There, muffed it. Inside, 1 ball, no strikes.
It looked like he was going. Good idea by Mills to step off.
Boy, the Cubs all over the White Sox again. It's 5-1, bottom of the 2nd at Wrigley.
What have they won? 8 in a row.
8, yeah.
Tied for first.
Work, Chip.
The Giants, your new leader out west,
Yeah.
by a game over San
Boy,
Diego.
San Diego had a huge lead, too. They chased Pride back.
Giants have won 8 in a row.
Lined into center, but Anderson comes on and grabs it. And the inning is over. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, another runner left. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's 5
through the afternoon as we wrap up this road trip.
I just wondered if you spent all yesterday afternoon yelling, and down the stretch they come.
No. Here we go with B.J. Surhoff leading off for the Orioles. He popped out to short his first time up.
Actually, it kind of makes you sound like a late-night FM DJ.
Well, we can use the FM voice some other time. Little roller foul, 1 ball, 1 strike now on Surhoff. Surhoff, Ripken, and Webster do up in the bottom of the 5th. 5-0. Braves on top. They've out-hit the Orioles 10-2.
And I'm sure the folks know the past history with Greg Maddux. Give him 5. He's 72-2 in ball games that he has had 5 runs or more.
He actually threw more pitches in the 4th inning than he had in the previous 3. He's now thrown 50 on the afternoon. And it's 2-2 now on Surhoff. Maddux closing in on 200 career wins. If he gets this one today, it'll be number 193.
And I think that'll be the milestone of the future for this generation of pitchers.
Nice pickup by Gallaraga. Took a base hit away from Surhoff. 1 down.
You can smile if you catch it. That had Schinberger written all over it. A little bit of an Olay to the side by Gallaraga, but he has good reflexes. We get so caught up in his offensive numbers, we forget what a good first baseman he is. Nice play.
One thing about a play like that, if you make it, you have plenty of time to get to the bag.
Yes.
Doesn't matter who the runner is. Cal Ripken, one of the 2 hits off of Maddux, a single back in the 3rd. And it's quickly 0-2 on Ripken, playing in 2,540th straight game today. That's almost inconceivable.
Most people don't get that many in their career.
The 0-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 man out in the bottom of the 5th. Another ground ball. Chipper Jones cuts in front of Weiss, throws on to first in time.
A couple of dandy plays behind Maddux here in the 5th inning. That was not an easy play for Chipper Jones. His momentum had him going towards second. Watch his direction and how quickly he gloves, gets into his hands, off balance, and throws. Catching it was hard enough, but then making it an accurate, strong throw off the wrong foot, off balance, headed towards second, makes that a tough play.
Now Lenny Webster hit into a 4-6 force play back in the 3rd.
People have asked me, what is that they continue to see Chipper Jones spit out when he's playing? It's sunflower seeds. A lot of players like the sunflower seeds, and what you do is it really is an art. You stick a whole handful of them in your mouth, and you separate them one at a time and eat them. Makes the groundskeepers really happy, especially on AstroTurf.
Here's the 0-1 now to Lenny Webster. Blown away, 1 ball, 1 strike. I know it looks like teeth, but it's not.
And it beats the heck out of the smokeless tobacco that you see a lot of players using.
2-1 the count now on Webster.
There you are. That's a free commercial for you folks. Be sure to send them to TBS.
One of the few times today Maddux has fallen into a hole like this on a hitter. 3-1 now.
He might get a strike, but it won't be in the heart of the strike zone.
Maddux will take care of this one. Another 1-2-3 inning for Greg Maddux. After 5, still 5-0 Atlanta.
It's time time for our Budweiser game summary. Maddux has supplied the pitching. Typical Maddux, all ground ball outs. The firepower from Gallaraga and Andruw Jones. And a short, frustrating day for Doug Drabeck. 5-0 Braves. That's your Budweiser game summary. And while I have your attention, we'd like to wish a very happy birthday to a very important lady in our scheme of things, Vanessa Bonner, the TBS unit manager, who is tour guide, social director, and babysitter for most of the folks that you will see their names when we roll the credits at the end of the game. She's 29 again this year. Happy birthday, Vanessa.
And here's Keith Lockhart leading off the sixth. He has a couple of walks today. He's also grounded out. Mills working his third inning. Strike in the outside corner, 0-1. Braves with a chance for a 5-4 road trip after getting off to an 0-3 start. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and two.
Boy, and these games have had a little bit of everything, haven't they? There's been some good defense. There's been some slugfest. 5 solo homers decided 1 ball game, and good pitching.
It's a very dedicated team, this Braves club.
I don't know that I have ever seen a ball club where as many people on the club get to the park as early as they do.
I came over very early this morning, and I was astounded at the number of players that were already here. Among them, Chipper Jones, who was going in to take some extra BP at about 10 a.m. in the indoor cage. He was not happy with the way his road trip had gone offensively. But it's not at all unusual to be at the ballpark 4 hours before game time and see most of the Braves already there. Another walk, third time today. Lockhart has walked. That's the third walk given up by Mills. It's kind of the story of Alan Mills' career. He's got good stuff, but his occasional wildness has really prevented him from turning into one of the premier relief pitchers in the league.
Good stuff. 31 years old. He should be right in the middle of the best years of his career. But if you track his record over his whole career, not too much difference in walks and strikeouts. About 3/4 of a strikeout an inning. Almost the same number of walks.
Chipper Jones, a base hit, good control. Pretty hard to give you any pointers that are going to totally correct it. They might help you out a little bit. Into left field off the handle. Surhoff there for the catch. 1 down. And that'll bring up Andres Gallaraga.
I think part of it is, and it may be too much of a generalization to trace it back to youth baseball and the aluminum bat, because you see so many youngsters who try to pitch to avoid getting the ball hit rather than pitching to try to get hitters out with strikes.
Well, there's a man who pitches to get hitters out right there.
And with strikes. Then he gets ahead and he throws near strikes.
Andres Gallaraga, his 22nd homer of the season in the first inning, a base hit in the second, and a fly out to center in the fourth. 0-1 the count.
And Maddux does it with a fastball that probably wouldn't even get him drafted if he were an amateur free agent right now. But he knows how to pitch. And part of knowing how to pitch is throwing strikes.
Deep to left center field off Gallaraga's bat. That may be gone. It is. Second home run of the day for Andres Gallaraga. And that makes it 7-0 Atlanta. Gallaraga now with 23 home runs and 60 RBIs on the year.
If you're pitching to Gallaraga, sure you want to throw him strikes, but you'd rather not allow him to extend those big, strong arms on anything just above the knees and out over the plate. Watch how fully extended he gets. A knee-high fastball. And I'll bet you as a hitter, you learn to recognize the sound, and you could tell Gallaraga, watch when he comes out of there. He'll watch it. Yep, that had that sound.
That moves him up to the number 2 spot in the league in RBIs. Only Mark McGwire with 70 has more. He is on a pace to drive in somewhere in the range of 150, 155 runs this year.
Telling you, this sea-level baseball is killing him.
We're going to go to our third pitcher of the day for the Orioles as manager Ray Miller makes the Bell South call to the bullpen. He strikeouts in 21 innings, but he also has an ERA of 8.44 with a 1-1 record. And you would never see Norm Charlton used in games like this.
A few years ago, we saw him warming up in the second inning today.
7-0. Ryan Klesko 1 for 2 with a walk. Takes inside, ball 1. Well, we have seen throughout this series, with the exception of game 1 when Scott Erickson pitched that complete game victory. But these last 2 days, we have really seen the Oriole problem this year. Offensively, they've been okay. But their pitching staff with an ERA of 5.22 coming into the game today. Teams hitting .278 against their pitchers. A lot of injuries.
In one stretch, they had 5 pitchers on this staff that were Rochester pitchers. Still 4 here that would probably make up the bulk of the Rochester pitching staff. And they even had to go to Double-A to get one just as we arrived in town. So it has been a frustrating first 2 months for Ray Miller and for Mike Flanagan.
And they've got 2 pitchers very much in doubt. Scott Kamenicki, they're waiting for him to come back. They're not sure if they're going to get him back in a week or 2 weeks or 3. And Jimmy Key on the disabled list, and they're not sure if they're ever going to get him back. Jimmy Key talking about possibly his career being over. Michael Tucker 1 for 3. 2 outs in the inning. 0-2 the count. Jimmy Key had a 4-3 record when he went down. The 0-2.
Well, you know it's going to be tough on you when 3 of your top 4 starters only combined for 2 wins the whole month of May, and that's all you can get out of them. Remember, Mike Messina was out too. So it has been the Bermuda Triangle for the Orioles as far as pitching is concerned.
And to get Messina back, which they did yesterday, activating him. How do you make room? Well, turns out another pitcher was hurt, Terry Matthews.
And they had tried to rush him back too, and,
Right.
and they think right now they may have brought him back a little too quickly, and that might have contributed to his having to go back on the disabled list.
Still 0-2 on Michael Tucker. Wow. Got around on that pitch.
High fastball, about 87 miles an hour. That's a little different than the style of pitching and the velocity that we used to see out of Charlton and Rob Dibble when they were the nasty boys at Cincinnati.
Now it's 1-2 on Tucker.
It's pretty amazing that Charlton is still pitching. He's got a few zippers in his elbow. He's had a few arm problems, a couple of surgeries.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Charlton now 35 years old.
But he's left-handed, his breathing, and he'll take the ball. And he used to take the ball when he was hurting. You almost had to put him in an isolation ward and handcuff him to keep him from going out there, even when he was hurting.
Back out of play, still 2-2 on Tucker. Andres Gallaraga with his second home run of the day in this inning, giving him 22 two-home run games in his career, 3 of them coming this year. And up to 23 homers and 60 RBIs on the year now. 3-2 pitch. Line, right center field. Davis, who always plays well off the line no matter who's hitting, makes the catch for the 3rd out. But Andres Gallaraga with another 2-run homer. Braves up by 7. Out of play, 0-1. This has been vintage Maddux today. Almost all the outs recorded on ground balls. We've had 1 pop up to the infield, 2 strikeouts, nothing to the outfield, no flyouts at all. How do you do that?
He is pitching a game here. I was talking to Ray Miller, the Orioles manager, prior to the game. He's pitching a game here that you have to pitch to be successful in this ballpark over and over. Denny Nagel had good stuff the other day and pitched a pretty darn good ball game, but pitching up here, this ballpark, the numbers are short enough, but it plays shorter than the numbers you see on the fence. That 1 fly out to the shortstop, so no outfielders involved in any outs.
And Bordick fouls that one off to the right. Still a ball and 2 strikes. It's only 318 to right. And only 333 to left. Low fence in left field.
Those are not the numbers you worry so much about, Pete, as much as you do the...
Up the middle, base hit for Bordick. With number 3 off Maddux. Yeah, the areas where most of the home runs are hit here are from the 364 area in left center field and the 373 area even further out towards center field, where it can't be more than about 390 to straightaway center. It curls out to 4. Brady Anderson grounded out to short and was hit by a pitch.
And Ray Miller was saying that I believe that there's been 21 homers here in the last 7 ball games, and it's not even summertime yet.
Into right field. There's the first fly out of the game off of Maddux to the outfield. Michael Tucker there for the catch, 1 down.
Number 24, Eric Davis.
And the batter will be Eric Davis, who has walked and struck out.
I believe Maddux is disappointed that the outfielders didn't get the day off.
I think he is too. He reacted when that ball was hit like he was disappointed, but I guess when you're cruising along, getting 1 ground out after another, a line drive to the outfield, even if it's caught, will upset you a little bit.
See, now most pitchers are happy to get outs. Greg Maddux wants to get his outs.
Here's the 0-1. It's on the outside corner again, 0-2. Greg Maddux wants to make pitches. That's what he always talks about.
And he asked the other day, and I think it was Mark Wohlers when they were talking about pitching. He says, when you're struggling now, are you trying to make pitches? I mean, are you trying to throw strikes, or are you trying to make pitches to get hitters out?
And that's all for Eric Davis. Outside corner on the first 2 pitches, inside corner on the last one.
You're talking about vintage Maddux. This is vintage Maddux. He throws 1 outside going 1 way, 1 inside going another way, and then an inside cutter. See, you're so used to, if you're the right-handed hitter, to see that ball coming in on your fist. You see the late movement? It started inside, but he cut that ball right back over the inner edge.
That's his 3rd strikeout. He's gotten Davis twice today, and now Harold Baines, who hit into a double play in the first, doubled in the 4th inning. And it looks like every time Baines has gone up there, his approach has been to go the other way against Maddux.
Yes, the people around the Orioles were telling me that that's what they have to do, and to look for them to be more aggressive than a lot of the National League teams they had seen go against Maddux.
One ball, 1 strike. 2 men out. That runner still at first, not being held with the Braves up by 7. That's out of play in the count, 1-2. Maddux going for his 9th win today. That's all for Baines. That's strikeout number 4 for Maddux.
Gilbert for Office Depot.
Avoid the pointy-haired boss today. I proved him wrong about something.
Oh, now he's in a state of boss disequilibrium until he proves he's right about something.
They're photocopies, you know.
Back at the Inner Harbor here in Baltimore, where Camden Yards is located. What a great time we've had here in Baltimore on this visit up as interleague play begins.
Some of the nicest people we have ever been around, the people who work here at the stadium that we have come in contact with.
Andruw Jones, a home run back in the 3rd inning. Takes ball 1 from Charlton. This would be a tough place to come to visit if you were on a diet.
Wouldn't it?
Great food here. There's the 1-0 pitch. Outside corner, 1-1.
I know Jim Palmer's in the Hall of Fame already, but he can join my restaurant recommendation Hall of Fame after his suggestion to us last night.
Yeah, that was a great place. Fouled off at the plate, 1-2 on Andruw Jones. Eddie Perez will follow, and then Curtis Pride. Seven runs, 11 hits for Atlanta. No runs, only 3 hits for the Orioles. Top of the 7th inning. Braves back home tomorrow night against the Red Sox with Tom Glavine on the mound. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I like that Tuesday matchup, too. A couple of veterans who have rejuvenated themselves this summer.
Dennis Martinez against Brett Saberhagen. In the air to right field. That might get out of here. Off the top of the scoreboard, Andruw Jones on his way to second. He'll pull in with a stand-up double.
I love watching Andruw Jones run. The stride and the way he runs remind me so much of a young Al Kaline. I remember watching him on TV. Up and away, that's the pitch he tried to pull and pulled off of early. But look how he cruises right there. He's got the play in front of him. He's got to know. Doesn't look like he is expending any effort, but he's eating up a lot of turf. He runs the bases the same way he runs down fly balls.
That's his 12th double of the year. First hit off of Charlton, hit number 12 today for Atlanta. And now Eddie Perez, 2 singles and a fly out to left. Nothing and 1 the count. Danny Bautista's moved to the on-deck circle. Looks like he'll pinch hit for Curtis Pride with a left-hand pitcher out there. 1 ball, 1 strike. You're starting to see managers make the same comment every time a series with the Braves begins lately. And that comment was made by Ray Miller when the Braves arrived here in Baltimore. He said this will be a good test for us to see if we can compete with the really good teams. And it looks like the Braves are going to take 2 out of 3 from him. That same comment was made by Jim Riggleman with the Chicago Cubs to start this trip when the Braves went into Wrigley Field. High in the air off the bat of Perez to right center where Davis waits for it. Andruw Jones going to try to go to third. There's the throw by Davis, and Andruw with his excellent speed makes it in safely.
And that's a version of the same statement made by Phil Garner when the Braves went into Milwaukee, too.
The point I was going to get at, though, is the Braves went into Milwaukee, swept Phil Garner's team 3 straight. They went into Chicago, lost 3 in a row to the Cubs, and look what the Cubs have done since. They have not lost since. Cubs have won 8 straight games.
So they may be right. It may be a good test.
It may be a confidence builder for teams that can beat the Braves. Cubs have moved into a tie for first with Houston in the Central Division.
That may be a little overlooked play. I would say up many more runs than 7. You wouldn't want Andruw Jones to do that, but it almost bought Danny Bautista a base hit, having them have to bring the infield in.
Back to the top of the order now, Walt Weiss. He is 0 for 3. He did have a sacrifice fly back in the 2nd to drive in a run. 1 ball, no strikes. Baltimore goes on the road after this game. They'll play in Philadelphia. 3-game series.
I bet those will be sold out.
Fouled away, 1-2. Braves struck early today. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, all off Doug Drabek. 2 more in the sixth off of Alan Mills. Now trying to score off of Charlton. But Charlton wins the battle, striking out Walt Weiss. Braves leave a runner at third. Still 7-0.
The only game you will have to go elsewhere for will be Wednesday, and that's what's on deck with the Braves. Compliments of Olympic Steak.
And here's Rafael Palmeiro leading off the 7th and taking ball 1 from Maddux. 7-0 Atlanta. Palmeiro, Alomar, and Surhoff due up. Three and 0. There's a strike. 3-1. What Greg Maddux is doing, no one has done yet this year. Nobody has shut out the Orioles all season. They're a good hitting team.
You mentioned earlier, it hasn't been offense that's plagued them. They will put some points on the board.
Another ground ball. Gallaraga. Maddux covering. 1 away. And that'll bring up Roberto Alomar, who was grounded out twice, once to short and once back to the mound, where Maddux made a nice play.
You could see the frustration on the face of hitters when they go up against Greg Maddux, because he's what you call a comfortable offer. You see the ball well, take good swings, and get nothing out of it. Like you're hitting everything with a rolled up newspaper.
1 ball, no strikes.
And not a very thick one.
And they almost all go back to the dugout with that look on their face as if to say, now next time.
Yep. I was right on that one. Now watch next time.
There's a strike. 2-1. What helps make Greg Maddux as good as he is he's also thinking about next time.
Yep.
Gallaraga handles that one. 2 down. He made that statement, I'll never forget that, about a month ago, talking about throwing a pitch to a hitter in a certain situation and saying that he might not use it in this particular game because the next time he sees him, he may want to use it. He doesn't want him to be looking for that pitch. Whoever worries about the next time he sees a player? Well, this was easy.
I think that's awfully nice of him. Normally he wears out the middle of the infield, and now he's giving Gallaraga a chance. Schilling's frustrations continue. Good outing, nothing to show for it. Burba a home run and a win against his old teammates. O'Neill extends his hitting streak to 15 games. Minnesota and Pittsburgh got a good one going. Jason Smith on the mound for Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay over Montreal. They're in the 7th there. Detroit and Milwaukee in a pitcher's duel. St. Louis got 4 in the first. They lead. Chicago Cubs got 5 in the first. They're beating up on the others. Tampa Bay 3 up, and San Diego and Texas bottom of the second, all knotted at 1 apiece. Those are some of the news in the scores. For all the latest news and notes, check out CNNSI.com. It's the ultimate address for sports.
7-0 Atlanta. We go to the 8th inning. Keith Lockhart, 3 walks and a ground out today. And the count 1 ball, 1 strike on Keith. He'll be followed by Chipper Jones, and then the man that's got the big bat going this afternoon, the Big Cat, who's hit 2 2-run homers. Alomar. And a good play on the other end by Palmeiro. 1 down.
Alomar has very quick feet. That first step, he gets the balls in a hurry. Yeah, quickly he sets himself up, throws off balance. Probably had time to right himself, and a nice stretch by Palmeiro. Great play is no good if you throw the ball away. On a play like that, it takes 2 good plays.
Chipper Jones 1 for 3 and 1 RBI. That RBI came on a sac fly back in the second. Out of play right side 0-1. If the Braves hang on here for the final 2 innings, they will come home 25 games over 500. And we are still a month away from the All-Star break.
I guess Bobby Cox would find that acceptable.
He is very proud of this ball club, very proud of the effort they show, very proud of the work ethic that they have.
Well, you have a bunch of superstars on this ball club that have tasted success. It would be very easy just to kind of put it in cruise control and say, hey, we're this good, we don't have to work at it. But the point you made earlier about how early everybody gets here, it's because they have something to accomplish.
That man you just saw in the on-deck circle, Andres Gallaraga, do you know he goes to the weight room after every game for additional work?
I've only known one player that did that, and it probably won't surprise you with the longevity that he had as a catcher. It was Bob Boone.
2-2 on Chipper Jones.
That requires great discipline, because you know there are going to be some days when Gallaraga's taking a beating at first and at the plate, a hot day, and he's going to say, you know, I really don't want to do this, but he'll do it.
Again, the 2-2 to Chipper. Again, foul back. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This will be the Braves' 30th game on the road. They played 33 at home, so still the rest of the way, a few more games to be played on the road. Good road ball club. If they hang on, it'll be their 19th win on the road.
Second strikeout for Charlton. 2 gone in the 8th.
Let's take a look at the 2 home runs by Gallaraga after a single in the first with 2 outs. High in the air, got it up in the wind to right field. But the one he hit in the 6th inning didn't need to win. Got one down and in and whistled it into the seats in left field.
23 home runs, 60 RBIs now this year for Gallaraga. One ball, no strikes. 48,090, the crowd here today. Another sellout. They have packed this place for 3 days. One ball, 1 strike.
And most of them before and after the game have been in the lobby of the hotel right across the street where we're staying.
Thank goodness that guy wasn't.
There wasn't room for it.
He would not have had a chance to act like that.
Do whatever it is he does when he does what he does. Don't think he's ever met Tomahawk Tom.
In the air to right field. Got under that one a little bit, though, and Eric Davis is there for the catch. A 1-2-3 inning, and I believe that is the first time today that the Braves have gone in order. Still 7-0. The 4th, and a single by Bordick in the 6th.
Nothing hit very hard. Baines double in opposite field off the end of the bat roller that did make it all the way down to the wall in the left field.
And Maddux another chance. This has been a phenomenal performance. Still just the 1 fly ball to the outfield among the 22 outs recorded. Lenny Webster is hit into a 4-6 force play, and he bounced back to Maddux. Maddux with 4 assists. He's also had a putout over at first. One of those fly balls, an infield pop. 0-1 on Webster. into right field off the end of the bat, and there's the 4th hit allowed by Maddux.
And that's the same approach to hitting that we've seen from the left-handed batter's box from Harold Baines. Mind made up. Probably going to get something down. Don't try to pull it. Hit it the other way. Watch the inside-out swing. He'll stride toward the plate. Hands go through first. The barrel of the bat comes through last. That will always hit it the other way.
That'll bring up Mike Bordick. Hit into a double play in the 3rd. Singled in the 6th. Hits into a lot of double plays. Was 2nd in the American League. Grounding into double plays last year. Hit into 23 of them.
Not a fly ball hitter. Hits the ball on the ground and hits it hard on the ground. That's going to get you into a lot of double plays.
And here's a 6-4-3. Second time today, Bordick has done that.
Tonight, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg star in the Superstation premiere of Ghost. What a great movie this is. Tonight, beginning at 9 o'clock Eastern on the Superstation.
And as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning, the Orioles, or the top half of the 9th inning, rather, the Orioles making their concession moves here. Jesus Tavares just called up from AAA in right field. Jeff Reboulet takes over at 3rd. Cal Ripken gets the rest of the day off. And a youngster making his major league debut, a native of Aruba, Radams Dykhoff. He was called up from AA, and there you see the numbers that he put together down there, and he was the most astounded guy in all of Maryland when the call came to report to Baltimore. He thought if it was going to be a call-up, it might be to Rochester, maybe to AAA. But here he is in the major leagues.
Threw some things in his car and drove right up.
He was a non-roster player with his club in spring training. And he faces Gerald Williams. Williams first at bat today, a .267 average, couple of home runs, 12 RBIs.
Pretty good outing for Norm Charlton.
Yeah, 2 2/3 scoreless innings. Only 1 hit allowed. Didn't walk anybody, struck out a couple. And it goes to 3-0 now on Gerald Williams. Dykhoff is just 23 years old. He's a native of Aruba. 4 natives of the island of Aruba have signed in the Oriole organization.
2 are here now. Ponson is from Aruba, too, and I think they're cousins.
Michael Tucker.
Michael Tucker, the batter. He's 1 for 4. Strike 0-1. Dykhoff signed with the Orioles organization back in '93 and had spent the first 5 years basically at the rookie and A level before starting this year at AA. He did pitch a little bit AA last year, but not much.
He's still pretty young, isn't he?
Yeah, just 23. Out of play, 1-2. Ninth inning, Braves up 7-0. And the first major league strikeout for Dykhoff is Michael Tucker, 1 gone.
Number 25, center fielder.
You see a note in his biography that you just don't see anymore in ball players' bios, especially those at the major league level. In fact, none at the major league level.
Has off-season job.
Off-season job as a delivery truck driver. A lot of players used to have off-season jobs. That's down the third baseline off the bat of Andruw Jones. He's got himself another hit. Gerald Williams going to be held at third as another double off the bat of Andruw Jones. His third hit of the day, second double. And he's used the whole field today.
And that's what Clarence Jones, Bobby Cox, they'd like to see Andruw Jones. Get a pitch inside, pull it inside the line. Rebele with no chance there. And there's no need taking any risks. This probably would have been a bang-bang play, and possibly Gerald Williams could have scored on it. But you're up by 7. Don't take any risk of a collision in a game like this.
1 out, runner second and third now for Eddie Perez. 13 hits in the game now for Atlanta, 3 by Andruw. 2 doubles and a home run. He's had a couple of pretty good games on this road trip. Remember that game in Milwaukee, 2 triples and a home run.
How about the hitting of Eddie Perez?
7-game hitting streak now. 10 hits and 25 at bats during that streak. See, he should do the same thing